A tray of deviled eggs sits on the holiday table looking too polite to question. The whites are smooth. The filling is pale yellow and soft, dusted with paprika. Someone reaches for one without thinking. Then another disappears. You take a bite, and it feels exactly as it looks. Cool white, creamy center, richness and tang. There is nothing dramatic about it. It may be the gentlest looking food on the table, which makes the name feel oddly wrong. Why is something this soft, familiar and harmless called deviled? To answer that, we have to move backward through language, appetite and the habit of turning a simple egg into something ceremonial. And once that question appears, the egg stops feeling ordinary. Let's get into it right here on Secrets of Simple Things. Before deviled sounded so dramatic. The first surprise is that deviled eggs were never named to make them sound evil. In 18th century English cooking, deviled was a food word for dishes seasoned more sharply than usual, with mustard, pepper, vinegar, or other flavors that gave them extra bite. The word suggested heat and edge, not danger. That older meaning matters because today deviled eggs rarely taste fierce enough to match the name. Most are creamy, mild, and familiar, with only enough mustard or acidity to keep the filling from feeling flat. But the name comes from a time when stronger seasoning felt bolder than it does now. That is what makes the name so revealing. It preserves an older way of tasting. A small egg on a platter carries the memory of a world in which a sharper flavor could feel daring simply because it refused to stay gentle. So the dish is not deviled because it is wild. It is deviled because someone once thought a little extra zip deserved a stronger word, and the word remained long after the shock became normal. But the stranger part is this: even before anyone called them deviled, people were already doing something surprisingly similar with eggs. Long before the modern recipe, people were already stuffing eggs. The deeper surprise is that the method itself is old. Long before deviled eggs became a familiar American appetizer, people had already discovered the same basic idea. Boil an egg, open it, change what is inside, and return it in a more flavorful form. In the ancient Roman world, eggs were served with assertive sauces. In medieval Europe, cooks were already stuffing eggs with seasoned mixtures. The ingredients changed with time and place, but the logic remained close to what we still do now. And that logic is part of what makes the dish durable. A boiled egg is perfectly designed to be remade. Once cut in half, it gives you two white shells and a rich yolk that can be lifted out, mixed, sharpened, softened, and transformed. The egg is both ingredient and container at once. There is something elegant in that. With one humble ingredient, people found a way to make food feel more refined and more deliberate than the original egg by itself. A plain boiled egg becomes arranged, seasoned, and presented. So deviled eggs were not a sudden invention. They belong to a much older culinary instinct, one that different centuries kept dressing in new flavors and new expectations. So the idea was old. What changed was where the dish lived and what it came to mean. The egg that proves small foods can carry long histories. By this point, the deviled egg no longer feels like a minor party snack. From one ordinary boiled egg, people created a seasoned appetizer, a table tradition, a place where memory gathers, and a name that still preserves an older layer of language. That is the kind of transformation simple foods do best, and maybe that is why the dish lasts. It answers many needs at once. It is easy to share, easy to recognize, easy to alter without losing itself. Classic enough to feel familiar and refined enough to avoid feeling dull. Even its pleasures are built on contrast, soft and firm, creamy and clean, rich and gently sharp. That may be the larger lesson hiding inside it. The foods that endure are not always the biggest or the most spectacular. Sometimes they are the ones that fit quietly into real life, then stay there long enough to become part of how people remember being together. So the next time you see one sitting quietly on a platter, it may not feel like just an egg anymore. The little appetizer that moved from elegant tables to family gatherings. By the 19th century, stuffed and seasoned eggs had taken on a recognizable place in American food culture. They appeared as hors d'oeuvres and entertaining food, the kind of thing that looked composed on a platter. Old American versions could include olives, capers, mustard, or even curry powder. Over time, though, the dish found a second life. It moved beyond the formal table and settled into rituals of gathering: picnics, church potlucks, Easter meals, family reunions, holiday spreads. In some parts of the American South, it even became part of funeral tables. Some foods survive because they impress, others survive because they learn how to belong. Deviled eggs did both. They were practical in ways that helped them stay. Eggs were affordable. The filling could be seasoned with a few pantry ingredients. Each half came pre-portioned. The platter looked generous. On a crowded table, the dish could still earn a hand reaching back for one more. That is when deviled eggs stopped being just an appetizer. They became one of those foods people expect to see when the occasion matters, not because it is grand, but because it feels like gathering itself. And maybe that is why people underestimate it. Once something becomes familiar, we stop noticing how carefully it is built. The dish that looks easy only until you try to make it well. At first glance, deviled eggs seem almost too simple to fail. You boil eggs, mix the yolks with mayonnaise and mustard, spoon the filling back in, and you are done. But this is exactly the kind of dish that becomes less casual the moment you try to make it really well. The eggs cannot be overcooked, the yolks cannot be dry, the whites should stay tender instead of turning rubbery, and that heavier sulfur note should never take over. The filling has to be smooth but not loose, rich but not heavy, tangy enough to feel alive but never so acidic that it breaks the calm shape of the dish. A grainy center can make the whole thing feel careless. This is the hidden difficulty of simple food. There is nowhere to hide. The ingredient list is short, which means every mistake stays visible. Nothing is covered by crust, sauce, or complexity. And that is part of the craft behind deviled eggs. What looks effortless on the platter is actually being held together by a series of very small decisions. That precision is part of why the dish lasts, but precision alone does not explain why so many places keep reinventing it. Why deviled eggs feel like more than food on certain tables. Some foods become memorable because they are extraordinary. Deviled eggs usually become memorable because they keep showing up when life gathers people together. They appear at Easter, at holidays, at reunions, at potlucks, and in some places at funeral meals. A dish that returns during emotional moments begins to collect more than flavor. It collects repetition, and repetition slowly turns into memory. The egg itself already carries symbolic weight. On Easter tables especially, it fits naturally into ideas of renewal, new life, and return. But the deeper reason deviled eggs matter is not only symbolism, it is the way they move through human hands. Someone makes them for other people, someone brings them from home, someone sets them down on a shared table and watches them disappear. That role matters. Deviled eggs are rarely the hero dish. They are not the roast in the center or the dessert people photograph first. But they are often the food people quietly hope will be there. Their beauty is not loud, it is dependable, and that may be the real reason the dish survived, not because it was dramatic, but because it learned how to stay. A dish simple enough to travel, flexible enough to keep changing. Deviled eggs are easy to recognize, but they are also easy to adapt. In some southern versions, relish adds sweetness and hot sauce adds extra heat. Elsewhere, the flavor may lean more heavily on mustard. Some versions bring in herbs, smoked paprika, bacon, caviar, smoked salmon, crab, shrimp, or dill. The accents change, the mood changes, even the social setting changes, and yet the dish still remains itself. That is a useful kind of structure. It is clear enough to survive variation, but open enough to welcome it. In that sense, deviled eggs feel less like one rigid recipe and more like a form people keep filling with local taste, family habit, and personal style. It can feel old-fashioned and current at the same time. Tradition stays in place, but flavor keeps moving. and that flexibility helps explain something even more interesting. Deviled eggs are not remembered only for how they taste. The 5-second rule for judging a good deviled egg. If you only have 5 seconds to judge a deviled egg, look for 3 things. If you only have 5 seconds to judge a deviled egg, look for 3 things: clean white edges, a filling that holds its shape, and no watery sheen on top. Clean white edges usually mean the egg was peeled and cut carefully, so the texture is more likely to be right. A filling that holds its shape tells you it was mixed to be creamy, not runny. And if the top looks dry rather than glossy or wet, it usually means the deviled egg has not been sitting too long or made too loosely. In real life, that quick glance tells you a lot before the first bite. A good deviled egg should look calm, clean, and stable. If it already looks messy, watery, or slumped, the texture will probably feel the same. The dish you thought you already understood. A tray of deviled eggs sits on the table the way it did at the beginning. White halves, yellow centers, a little paprika on top. Nothing about it trying too hard. But by now it feels different. It is no longer just a neat way to serve eggs. It is a small meeting point of old language, old habits, careful technique, shared tables, and the quiet way food carries memory from one gathering to the next. That is what makes simple things worth looking at twice. They often hold history, feeling, and human meaning than their size suggests. If you enjoy discovering the hidden stories inside ordinary things, subscribe and stay with me here. There are more simple things like this, and they are rarely as simple as they seem.